Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Bridget Burns with the University Innovation Alliance. We help universities share ideas to help low-income students. And today I have a fantastic, almost a virtual panel for you of students who are not typically online students who have gone through this transition in COVID. And we're going to get feedback from them about what has been hard, what has been good, what do they wish we understood, and essentially being able to get some real-time insights. So I'm super excited. I have 3 Ohio State University students. So Robert Yengo, thank you so much for joining me, Matthew Ayers, and Grace Balzer. So thank you so much for taking the time to give us feedback and chat with us today. You can say words.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not being held captive technically. So let's just chat. So can you just share for each of you a little bit about yourself, like what's your major and have you had any online experience before? So Robert, can you go first?
Sure. My name is Robert Yengo. I'm a third-year industrial engineering student at the Ohio State University Go Bucks. I have been in this kind of online virtual course, so I'm going through this and all the growing pains for the first time with everybody else too. So, but it's definitely been a unique experience also being on the technology learning side where I help like students out too who are going through these things too. So it's definitely been a unique experience.
Okay, cool. So do you work with Scott, who we interviewed earlier, or obviously he had connected with us? So you work in the technology office or?
Yeah, so, well, I'm not like, well, we're centralized there. All 3 of us work for a digital flagship, which is in Mount Hall over there. I think Scott, are you referring to Scott Nelson?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's on the digital flagship team, but he's definitely in that building.
Okay, cool.
This-
I'm excited. So you speak technology and now you're being forced to use it in a new way. So this is a good opportunity for us to find out how that's going. Grace, can you share with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Grace. I'm a first-year student. I'm a psychology major. And I'm definitely glad, I think, in this transition that I've had some experience with digital flagship and kind of the technology education, because I definitely don't think it would have been as easy without that, even with a little bit of online class experience. This is definitely a very different situation.
I feel you. Okay, Matthew.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I am a computer science major, wrapping up my first year here at Ohio State. And for me, I've taken like some online classes before. A lot of them were asynchronous or animated, so they were really cheesy, of course. But for the most part, I'm very new to this online class experience. So definitely having the digital flagship background is very helpful, but at the same time, it's also a very different experience trying to transition all of my classes online and try to maintain the same sort of setup.
Okay, so I feel like the elephant in the room is what is digital flagship before we go further, because people are going to know what that is. Can someone give us the oh yeah, well I see the logo. I'm like, this is good. And by the way, because I'm doing this in my living room, I changed into my red jacket because I wanted to get as close to Buckeye colors as I could to honor where you're coming.
Yay.
But what is
Flagship?
Just an office at Ohio State? Can you give us a little quick snippet?
Sure.
yeah, Matthew, why don't you go ahead?
I feel like Matthew can give you the best explanation.
So Digital Flagship is a student success initiative at Ohio State. And we really just focus on making sure that students are successful throughout their college career. So when students first come to Ohio State, they receive a student technology kit, and that includes an iPad and like a case, a keyboard, and an Apple Pencil, and some accessories like that. And then they also get access to a lot of different apps that the university has either made or has purchased for students, such as the Notability app. And we also have an app called Ohio State Discover that helps them with like getting used to our campus and planning out their classes, different things like that, getting involved. And so we have all these different resources for students that help them to be able to be successful in a constantly changing environment that is increasingly technical.
Mhm.
So Digital Flagship started in, I think it was October 2017, if I'm remembering correctly. And that was pretty much perfect timing because now we're getting all the kinks worked out and we're finally able to help people, especially during this time, with the transition to online classes.
That is super cool. Yes, for folks who are messaging, yes, you can participate. You can ask questions. Okay, so you all work in Digital Flagship, and then you're also Ohio State students, and you hear all of a sudden, hey, you're going to be online starting ASAP. How much time did you have notice?
I'm pretty sure we all got the email at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we were on spring break when they decided that I think originally we were going to have like a week at least of online classes because things were still changing and being figured out. And then kind of right after that, they were like, okay, actually, we're just going to do full online. You need to move out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a little bit sudden. I feel like we could feel it coming a little bit, but we all kind of didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Because it was definitely sad to have to leave campus. But we had a little bit of notice, and then we got our spring break extended so that we could all move out and make sure we had things set up and were prepared for the transition.
Great. Yeah. I mean, honestly, as someone who advises university presidents, I can't tell you how incredibly complicated that decision was. Like, there obviously nobody had a crystal ball, and and the things that they have to worry about, and keeping so many human beings safe, and then all their employees, and figuring out how to do this, and then I mean, nobody wanted to push that button too early, and but they had to be so cautious. I'm so grateful I wasn't in that position. I have nothing but empathy for them. I feel like I saw some really great messaging from President Drake, some videos. I just saw one of him out on the quad, or out on the oval. And I feel like I'm also getting a master class in crisis communications from people. I'm seeing certain folks more communicative, some not. So anyway, yeah, okay, that's really helpful for us to understand that you guys physically had to move, and then all of a sudden new classes online. So what has been, if each of you could share, what has been kind of the hard parts that you think would be helpful for us to know, so that we could try and help solve problems for you? What things are still getting in the way? What has been the most difficult parts? Anyone can jump in.
I mean, for me, I think what has been, most of my professors have been very understanding and have given us a lot of leeway as we've been settling into this. But what can be frustrating is having quizzes and tests that we need to take, or classes that we need to join, and being expected to do those things in the time when we would usually be in class. Even though it might seem like now we have all this free time, we're just sitting at home. Everyone has different situations with their family, with being able to get an internet connection, all of that. So I think that part has been a little bit frustrating. Luckily, I'm in a position where I can make that work, but I know for a lot of people, that's not something that they are going to always be able to get done. So I think that has been a little bit of a hard thing to get past.
Yeah. How about other folks? That true for you? Other stuff you'd add?
For me, sorry. You can go first this time.
Okay, I'll go. One of the biggest components of the Ohio State experience is the sense of community. I'm a student. I didn't live on campus. I'm a commuter student, but I still rely on my student orgs and my friends to hold me accountable to the standards that were put in place for us by our faculty and by our education. So, after class, we eat lunch together, and then we'll go, to 18th Avenue and work on this assignment that we just got. And, we have a lab report due here. We need to make sure, and we hold each other, like to the water, I guess, or to the light for, getting things done. And that kind of dissipated in the transition. And I thought to myself, well, that happened. I can work around it. I can just message them on, WhatsApp or WeChat or whatever it may be, and things will be okay. And it definitely is not the same kind of experience. I found that when I do work with classes, I've found that the most success that I've had is from when I have individual time in office hours or just individual modules or assignments to do, so I can like constantly gauge my progress with the content. Meanwhile, in my math class, I just have a open chat room for 40 minutes and lecture posted online, and there's no real gauge of am I mastering this content or not. So those have been the two primary challenges: that sense of community, also where I am in my progress with my education.
Okay, so that's super helpful. So community, and then the sense of accountability, and also gauging where being able to approximate, because now you don't have classmates to your left and to your right. You have, you know, your computer screen to the front. I am hearing quite a bit about students really needing a lot more feedback. Faculty are having to adjust to getting a lot more emails than they've ever gotten in the history of their careers. Students didn't used to email them this aggressively. And I think, you know, for those of us who live in that email deluge world, it takes a while for folks to adjust to how much time you have to carve out to be able to respond in a timely fashion. So I think that's something that is lagging depending on who we're talking about. But that's hopefully this kind of conversation will help raise that up as something that students really need to happen right now. So that's super helpful. What else would you add to that?
So I, just going off of the email comment that you made, I have gotten used to checking my email a lot more often, even before this happened. I had just downloaded like the official email app that we're supposed to use because I wanted to make sure that I was able to take advantage of all the different features they gave us at Ohio State. And that has definitely helped out a lot with like scheduling different like online meetings and stuff like that. For me, with challenges with my classes, all of my classes have transitioned to online pretty well, I'd say. I know it is a little bit difficult in my math class being able to keep up with my professor because his handwriting is typically a little bit better on a chalkboard than on Microsoft OneNote. And even though he does provide those pages to us after class online, it is a little bit difficult to be able to interpret some of the writing just because it's pixelated. And that does make it difficult. I also have an engineering class that is essentially just one big project for the entire semester. And our project is 3D printing a vehicle that would run on a track that is in our lab that we work in. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we are unable to complete that project now, which is a little bit upsetting because of how much effort we've put into it so far this semester. And we're continuing to do that project. We just won't be able to do the in-person testing and the final showcase of those vehicles that are part of our engineering curriculum.
And so are you a senior? I'm trying to remember.
I'm a first year student.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and sorry again, Grace, what are you?
I'm a first year as well.
Robert?
Junior.
Okay. So we get a little bit of variety here. Okay, cool. Well, that's at least, hopefully that we'll be able to figure out a new solution. And I'm also seeing that a lot of the 3D printers for institutions are being deployed to actually make personal protective equipment for the medical community. So yeah, I mean, there's some silver linings, right? Like some trying to make some upside to help serve. So that's super helpful. So I'm hearing, I'm curious, Matthew, have you asked your professor to see about getting a chalkboard in their home so that they could, or what, a whiteboard at least to give you that?
Well, he did actually ask me before our classes started back up if there was any way for him to use an iPad with Zoom. And I told him basically what I knew about doing that kind of thing, but there was a little bit of an issue with getting him an iPad from our IT service desk, just for reasons that I don't really know. He just said he wasn't able to get one. But okay. Yeah, he doesn't have enough space in his office to get a chalkboard or a whiteboard at this time. So this was the next best solution that he had.
Oh, darn. Well, I guess that was my best attempt at solving one of your problems. But I'll keep mulling. Has there been anything good that's happened unexpectedly, or anything that about this online transition that has been not terrible? Grace, anything not terrible for you?
As far as school, overall, I think the transition has been pretty smooth, and I think Ohio State specifically has given us a lot of options as far as grading, giving us a pass, no pass option, that sort of thing. So I feel like overall it has not been horrible, and I've definitely bonded more with my family during this time as my sisters and I are all doing schoolwork online, and my mom is working from home. So I guess that is a little bit of a positive side.
And you don't have to like make something up. I'm just wondering if any of your classes, there has been some benefit to this modality of learning that has made it a little bit easier. It sounds like not with math. I don't know, Robert or Matthew, if there's anything that's gotten better, and it's fine if the answer is no.
I would like to add, this has forced me to really appreciate the power of YouTube, and I have a special place in my heart for Professor Leonard and Sal Khan. Those guys are both godsends. I love them for understanding concepts and things, and you really understand just there's more than one way to achievement in like the classes that you have. Like, yeah, you could just bury yourself in a textbook or hammer your professor with questions, or you could use these other third party resources online. So I think I've been getting more resourceful because I know, if there's a shortcoming here with my professor, then it's my responsibility really to find a way to learn.
So I also love, we'll head to Matthew next, Sal Khan and Khan Academy helped me quite a bit in my grad program. I actually got to meet him last week and moderate a panel with him on it, which that's one secret upside.
Oh.
Because I don't think I would have been asked to do that. And Arnie Duncan was on it too. And I was like, how is this happening? So I actually have his email address. So, I'm not going to, but anyway, it's good. It's good to know that you appreciate, and I will give adequate props. Matthew, anything that's been an upside for you?
Yeah, so I'm taking a class called Software 1 right now, which is kind of an introductory class with like modern design principles for software engineering. And what we are doing is the due dates are a lot more flexible now. So I feel like a lot more of the stress of having to get things in by a certain time is a lot easier. And I have been able to really explore how I'm doing the different programs that I'm building, so that I can make sure that I'm doing everything adequately. And then another thing that has really been good out of this is that myself and a few of my friends have actually been joining a Zoom meeting every evening. And one thing that I really like about that is we've been able to stay on there and just talk with one another, play games online together. And I think that's a lot of fun because this is something that I would not have otherwise had the opportunity to do. And I feel like after the semester ends, and especially over the summer term, I feel like this will continue to go on because we're all spread out over the western side of Ohio, everywhere from Cincinnati to Toledo. I mean, we're all spread out. So I feel like we're going to be able to keep this going and really engage with one another, especially since some of us will be in Columbus in fall once again.
That's great. I agree that there have been some places where I've felt more community and I felt more connected to people who I've been talked to in a long time, and yet at the same time feel more disconnected from people who I'm normally connected with. So I really want to tease out what Robert brought up about community. And the only thing that we feel very confident helps in terms of student success is first the faculty member in some way helping you understand that they care about your success. That's the only thing that really has the evidence behind it. But the second thing that we know is intuitively helpful is a learning community, a place where you and some other students can hold each other accountable, that you can share notes, that you can create a place where you can talk about stuff that you can't really talk about in class. And I would just, this is the thing I'm most worried about losing. And I'm just wondering if you all have any perspective on what things have helped you feel connected. Are there any parts of, is it, you know what, I really do like that my faculty member has us all put our face on the screen and there's a chat function and the chat function is helpful? Or is there actually nothing that helps you feel that sense of, obviously, Matthew, we just heard an example of that from you, but I'm curious if there are any things that we need to lean into that add community and connection. Grace?
I think it's given me a newfound sense of, I guess, gratitude for office hours, because I hadn't really realized how, I guess, available my professors were and how beneficial it was to see them in person. But all of them have been able to be very available to us through Zoom, having still office hours online or giving us the ability to make appointments with them. So that's been nice. And I think I already had group chats with groups of people from classes who I sat near, where we would share notes and just sometimes get together in person, but sometimes just collaborate online, I guess. And those have definitely been helpful now. But I don't know if there's anything that really makes it better in classes. I know I only have one class that does full Zoom classes, and we don't have to have our cameras on, so it's usually just people's names on the screen, and that definitely doesn't have the same feel as being in a classroom, obviously.
Yeah. Robert, has there been anything that's felt a little bit like what you were trying to recreate?
In the classroom, the putting a face to your professor rather than just having a little screen or a photo from 20 years back creates that I don't want to say not really a good feels, but like I feel like I'm going to be immersed in this content because I'm not just talking to a screen. I think that was a feeling I think that Grace was talking about, and I really agree with that. It's very easy for someone like me who constantly needs stimuli to to interact with, to easily be distracted and pull out my phone and just stop listening or tune in if I don't have someone looking directly at me and saying, hey, this is the concept, this is what we're talking about, because I can just turn that switch on like that and you won't know because my mic is off, so and you're not directly the question, so you really don't know whether I'm paying attention or not unless my camera's on too and you see that I'm on my phone, and then you're just like, hey,
Right.
So
even then though, even if your camera's on, if you have, I mean, like one of my lectures is like 200 people, and usually there's only about 70 people on the Zoom call, but even then my professor probably wouldn't even be seeing me. I might be several screens down. So there's still not really that accountability. Like in classes, I'll sit in the front row because I know the professor can see me, so I'm not going to go on my phone. I'm not going to do something like that. But on the Zoom calls, you don't have that same accountability, I guess, because you don't really have someone watching you. And I think that definitely does make a difference. I agree with that for sure, Robert.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been super helpful. I guess I just want to open it up one last time. Is there something that the university or any of us who are just trying to help students, like all we care about is helping students? And sometimes it's hard, especially right now where we don't physically see you, right? So how can we even know what your needs are? We're trying to read through the lines. Are there problems that are happening right now that you definitely hope you'd like to elevate that the university could help with? And is there any advice you would give for faculty who are trying to do this and it's hard? It's 2 weeks in, they didn't choose this either, and they want to help you succeed, but man, there's not really a training manual for this. So either is there something that you would want to communicate before we sign off, that, hey, somebody needs to figure this out, or if I'm a faculty member, here's the advice I think that would help you. Matthew, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I think right now I've heard some of my friends have complained to me about how their professors are not being very flexible or how they aren't using Zoom, and that's creating a disconnect between the course material and what they are being asked to complete. So I think one thing, just as a bit of advice for faculty members, is to be flexible and be willing to try new things. The student that has talked to me, they said that this faculty member just refuses to use Zoom, and before we had this entire online transition, was not even posting grades online. So I think that's one thing that really should be explored a little bit, especially if something like this were to happen in the future. Just making sure that students are able to receive the instruction that they need and get the help they need.
Anything else?
I definitely agree about the flexibility. I think obviously our professors want to hold us to a high standard still, and I think a lot of us still want to hold ourselves and our professors to high standards as well. But these are such unprecedented times that I think it's okay for us to be a little more flexible. I know a lot of my exams have become open note, and I know that can feel a little bit like we don't even need to work hard for it anymore, but I think that's okay right now because we're all kind of just trying to get through it the best that we can. So I definitely agree that flexibility, I don't think, is us being less competitive or weak. I think it's just something that we kind of need to embrace.
Yeah, no, I think no heroes right now, right? Like there are some literal heroes right now, but
Yeah.
None of us need to, like, surviving, getting through right now, taking good care of yourself. Like that is the outcome. I have a little with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I was like, when they were offered pass fail and worried whether it was going to make them, seem weak, I was like, definitely take pass fail, no question. Because right now, like, I don't know how you learn on top of going through all of this. Like it's a very difficult thing. So that's why there are a lot more mental health resources. They're trying to do telehealth. Like we just want to make sure you get through this. Like I don't want anyone to feel any extra pressure. So that's good. Robert, do you have anything?
I think all I have to say really builds off of what Grace and Matthew said. I have the privilege of having a quiet space in my house where I can, just pop in earbuds and get to work. But after hearing some Zoom calls, I know that not everybody has that luxury. So the whole concept of bringing in open note assessments really helps ease that tension. I know when I do talk to my classmates who do have, living situations that aren't, pristine, perfect, out of a movie. So as that flexibility thing that Matthew really covered would really be appreciated by, students that don't have the luxuries that some of us do have.
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, I just heard today about some institutions offering noise canceling headphones for students. And, the thing is, like, there's not a budget line for hotspots and laptops, students or headphones. And we don't even know what the cost of this is, but I do appreciate that institutions are listening and they are looking for places where students need solutions. So as we jump off, now you have my email address. And so if other stuff comes up that you hear or that you experience, that you can tell this is something that is not, is something that's getting in the way of learning. And how can we, elevate any of these challenges so that the institution actually has what they need to try and fix these problems for you? Because it's like, we're all trying to duct tape this together, building a plane while we fly it.
Right.
For sure.
But I really appreciate you on a busy Friday. I don't think all of you are 21, but it is definitely happy hour time there. So I really appreciate you sharing with us. And if it's okay, I'd love to check in with you at the end of the term and see, what did you learn? What advice would you, if you were starting over, and just in general, how can we continue to improve?
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks for folks who are watching at home. We really appreciate it. And you all just, I know that the folks at Ohio State care deeply about your success. And I'm so grateful that you took the time, but I'm also impressed that you had the time, you were able, and then you put your outfits on and you look all super fancy and organized. Like, this is some pretty good stuff. So, but I know the folks at Ohio State are very proud of you and grateful that you're continuing to try and learn in the midst of this. So just keep keep your chin up, Buttercup. Yes, video.
Oh, wait.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.